I've been gone for a week now, and oh my gosh, I'm coming back, and this is crazy, crazy, crazy. The Postal Service is laying off 10,000 people. And when you look at these layoffs, it's keep coming, it's jab after jab after jab. And I'm almost at the spot now where I would say, hey, if you have a job and you make a good salary with good benefits, be blessed. 2 years ago, I would have said no. But now, if you got a good job, you need to be fortunate and you need to be blessed and you need to say, you know what? I'm at a really good spot right now because most of Americans are on shaky ground. I'm telling you, Doge, everything, layoffs. And I just watched before I got out of the car, I just watched a video of a remote worker that had really good benefits, was making a really good salary, just got cut because they said, we are going to start making everybody come to the office. And what we're doing is we're taking jobs that were six-figure jobs, we're posting them at $50,000, $60,000 that were 100 plus, and we're doubling the workload, and we're getting hundreds of applications. So as you know, Ali runs a community on school that's for job seekers. It's less than $1 a day, and we host there every day. We host events, resumes, cover letters. We do if it's required, and we host project portfolio office hours, and we have general Q&As and all that kind of stuff, right? And somebody joined, and she said that, hey, I used to have a six-figure job, a real great job, and she said I loved it, and they let me go, and they just reposted her job, and it is for half of what it is, and they added more responsibility that they had with the salary range, right? So absolutely brutal what we're going through in 2025, and this is the common theme that I see across the platform where businesses are struggling, employees are struggling, and I'm getting messages like this one right here that are saying, help me move from England to Canada, and I need you to show some magic. And then I'm always like, okay, so what kind of budget have you set aside for visas, travel, and all kinds of stuff? And then I say, well, I have no budget, and I want a company to pay for it. And I always ask people, like, have you watched the news? Do you see how much Canada, how much everybody around us is struggling? Have you seen how bad the job market is? People are literally taking pay cuts that have been making six figures plus, take jobs way, way below what they were making before just to get rehired, to get a paycheck, to get benefits, to do all that. And then somebody from other places of the world, England, are saying, oh my gosh, let me get a job in Canada and I want the company to pay for it. It's like, you do not have the skills to demand anything right now. You just don't. And I tell that to most people right now. It is brutal. It is absolutely cutthroat. You need to be glad to be working. And if you're working, you duck and cover. You don't make moves. You don't go out and you don't go get into gossip in the office place. You don't do stuff. What you do is you shut up. You don't get into the drama. And you just keep moving. You just keep moving with the agenda. If they say you're going to stay late, stay late. 2 years ago, they said, you need to be paid of what you're worth and doing all that stuff. And I say that with somewhat of a caution. I think you do need to get out of toxic places. I do think you need to get paid what you're worth. But if you're having these delusions that you're like, oh my gosh, I want to make $200,000, $300,000 work from home, doing all that, those days are gone. If you're going to make six figures plus, expect to be in the office, because these buildings that your office is in and all these other ones are all owned by huge, huge investment companies because they deem to be lucrative assets, right? So if you are a smaller company that is renting or that has stock or something else, and they're like, hey, they're owned probably by BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, right? And so these major companies have huge investments in other companies that are landlords. So if you're BlackRock and you're like one of these huge investment companies and you oversee the assets, what do? You call in the CEO, you call in the board of directors and say, you know what? This isn't going the way that we want, because even though productivity has been high and all this other stuff, it is not in our interest to lose out on rent and doing all this other stuff. Because I made videos beforehand, like a year or so ago, where I said, hey, Salesforce is paying, I think, $1 billion a year in rent. So you, as an employee, have to know what the job market is, what is going on in trying to educate yourself and trying not to be like this other person right here that's been unemployed for 8 months and is like, keep wondering why I'm not getting interviews. Why am I not progressing? Why am I can't getting interviews? It's probably because you have the wrong strategy approach. Because I meet these people that spend no time looking at the job description, sending out resumes to the wrong with the wrong information on it because they have one or two resumes because they apply. One is sales. One of them is a sales manager, and one of them was, what was it, a supply chain manager, and they sent the wrong resumes out. And I was like, did you even check this? No. So this is a huge problem that job seekers are making, is you gotta have attention to detail. And if you do not have the attention to detail, then I'm telling you, you better just play video games, because it is wasted time. If you send to a job application that is for a supply chain manager and you send your resume as I don't know, military service person, or I don't know, a line cook from Applebee's, and you sent that to them, they're not gonna say, oh, we needed a cook. Let's interview him. No, they're not. They said, hey, this position is for supply chain and you did not cut it, so we're just gonna automatically reject you. So this is absolutely wasted time on your end. Don't do it. You're increasing the workload on other people and you're wasting your time. So only apply for jobs that you can actually think you can get and put some time and effort into the application. Because yeah, if you're sending out these applications to people and it's just not going right, you need to have the awareness of like, hey, I'm doing something wrong and I gotta fix it. Because if you're in a job situation like this, and I've been saying this all along, it's tough now. It is worse. Tom sent me some articles that said it's worse than 2008 on Amazon. So it is like absolutely crazy what's going on. And if you are not retired and you do not have the emergency fund to cover all of this stuff, you need to be networking all the time. You need to be going hard on, hey, if somebody wants to take on a project, yeah, I'll do it. Because we're not where it's just like, oh, I just fly under the radar and not get noticed. No, now we're at a spot where stuff does get noticed. And now the employer got the upper hand. And there's gonna be a time coming again soon where employees got the upper hand, but not right now. And so if you look at 2 years from now, that 2 years ago, it was employees. Now it's gonna be employers. 2 years from now, might be employees again. But today is absolutely crazy. So don't look at one of my videos and say, well, 2 years ago you said this. Yeah, 2 years ago was a completely different market. Today we're in a market where you gotta be glad to have a job. You gotta be thankful to get a paycheck. You gotta be looking at where am I spending money? Credit cards, all-time high. And you just gotta be knowing the lay of the land where you're applying at. Because when I was just laying on my couch because I had surgery, I scrolled on TikTok a little bit, as most people do, and there was a recruiter on there that said, I work for I'm out in the Midwest, and we used to struggle of getting applications because people didn't want to move to our small town, and we were looking for a CNC machinist, and we were paying about $80,000-$90,000 a year, and it's a remote area, so $90,000 a year, I don't know what exactly they did. And they said, normally we got 1 or 2 applications and they weren't even qualified, and so we had to find people and do a whole bunch of stuff to trying to get them to come and, do these things, to work the CNC machine. Now, all of a sudden, she said, I posted that job, same salary, same thing, because like, hey, what's it gonna hurt? That's the budget we got allocated, right? Because somebody quit. And she got 700 applications. And it was from all over. It was senior people that knew how to do the most amazing things. And she said, so she was so shocked that she said, we looked at about 80 of them, and then we just rejected the rest of them. So time does matter, right? And she's like, oh, we looked at the first 80 or we looked at 80 of them, and then it was just too much. And she said, every hour, it's just coming in like crazy. And she said she never thought that people would move across the United States to just interview. She said, um, we'll interview. Can we do it in person so we can test out and you can walk through some stuff? And everybody said, yeah, sure, I'll fly out. And it is absolutely crazy to see. 2 years ago, I would have said to you, nah, there's other opportunities in your area. You do not need to do this. Now, they're like, yep, fly you out and we're ready. And it is just a warning sign to you watching this that you need to be on your A game. There's been people 8 months, no jobs. There's been people that had VP position that are doing director or manager roles again that are saying, hey, at least I'm working. I don't matter if I'm underemployed. It doesn't matter to me as long as I get a paycheck I can provide for my family. I'm good. And now you are competing with that, right? And so you, as not that senior, are competing with some really, really great people. And sometimes I think like, hey, you're unaware. It's like, oh, these government employees are going to get laid off, these postal workers. And some of them are going to be real rock stars. Some of them are going to have resumes that are just phenomenal. And then you're going to be competing in the private sector with these people. If they're going to get laid off and you're going to want to be working at UPS or something else, and it's like, hey, it's seniority based or something, and you're just trying to get in, you're going to start competing with these people that know how to do it. I'm not saying all, but some of them, right? And so you need to know your industry. And I know a lot of you guys, and on these calls all the time, where people are not aware about their industry. They come to work, they go home. They've never ever read anything about their industry. What's going on? What is, what's the trend? What's here? What makes our industry move? What's trendy? What's not? Nope, they just go to work, they come home, and then they turn it off, right? And that is now for you, if you're watching this and you are unemployed, it's now an easy thing for you to educate yourself, get skills on LinkedIn, do all kinds of stuff. And so if you haven't, please like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And now you're like, oh my gosh, I need to compete. And before we didn't compete. And I feel like now it's at a spot again where it's like you have a job and you're doing good is a badge of honor, right? Like, hey, have a job, I'm doing all this is easy. And you need to now also know that the hidden job market is a thing. It's a thing. I'm telling you, these people that I've networked with that says, yeah, a job posting is going to go online, and we've already filled the position before it even goes online. So I say, why do you do that? Well, the laws kind of require us to do that, but we already know who we're going to hire before we even put the position up. So it is your job now to go join a group, join a LinkedIn group, just start networking and start actually being active and start saying, hey, this is what I want to do. Get over the fear of messaging old coworkers and saying, hey, you're working at this company. If you had a good relationship with them and saying, hey, I want to do that, because it's just brutal. You gotta do it. You just gotta get over the fear of putting yourself out there and doing it, because layoffs, they just lay people off because of it, right? And you as a individual contributor employee or as mid-level senior, even if you're senior position, you gotta know, like, hey, it's tough. Gotta compete. Gotta make the resume look good. Gotta stand out. And yeah, it's crazy. Life is just absolutely bananas. It is just cycles, right? Market cycles. Because I also seen these people that have now been crying and saying, oh my gosh, I'm 27 years old. I got laid off. I've been laid off for a year. Other people are getting married, advancing in their career. And I'm unemployed, moving back with my parents, right? And so you got to break free of the cycle and start contributing. And, becoming an influencer is what I know some of you guys are going to say, just make a YouTube channel. A YouTube channel is great if you get 100 plus million views. If you're not going to get 100 million views, you're not going to make any money. My channel, I think last month, made $190 a month. Yeah, $190. And 10% was from people that subscribe to my channel, so channel members. I appreciate you guys. So 10% was from that. And yeah, you got to be on your A game. And guess what? Being an influencer is not that great. It's not. It's competitive. It's you've got to be creative all the time. You've got to put out content, and yeah, it's brutal. So yeah, I do it because I need to be walking. I need to be out and about. I need to get my joints moving. I get to do all this. That's why people said, why don't you just sit down and do and become that? Because the money's not that great. I only know a few people that can make a really good living with that. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about all that. Is this job market that we're in harder than the one in 2008? If you experienced that, let me know below. If you're retired and you did it, let my people know how you did it. Because I could not tell you enough. People read these comments and then they're like, oh my gosh, I need to be like them. So please take the time. I'll see if I can respond. And I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. And I'm finally back.